To the bastards of Boston baseball, the Red Sox finally snapped their three-game losing streak. They beat the Milwaukee Brewers 3-2 tonight behind a strong start from Garrett Crochet. They improved their record to 3-8 on the young season. I'm your host, Jason Kelly. I'm here with Terry and Doug, and guys, we needed this one because it was if you were going to lose four in a row and go down to 2-9 in your first 11, then the conversation was only going to get more dark and with more despair. But luckily, your ace stepped up. Crochet pitched a really good game. You were able to get to Jacob Mizorowski, which not a lot of teams can do that. So a little bit of a positive from the offense as well. So luckily, Red Sox are back in the win column. They've got another one tomorrow afternoon before heading off to St. Louis, which that'll be a big one too. But definitely big win tonight to kind of just put the brakes a little bit on the doom and gloom and finally get a win in there. Again, Garrett Crochet was probably the biggest factor. Went six and a third, seven strikeouts, only allowed two runs. I think he kind of outpitched Mizorowski for the most part. So Ray stepped up when you needed him to. Doug, I'll start with you. Your thoughts on Crochet and how he delivered tonight.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, he really delivered. What an ace does, he obviously stumbled last game, and people were already questioning him after two starts. But no, I mean, he looked, every bit as good as he did last year tonight. Showed why he was second in Cy Young last year. He, seven strikeouts, which is what he wasn't getting in the last game as much. And he they let him go, which I liked. I liked to see him, go deep. He obviously maybe one too many, hitting Hamilton like that. But I like to see that he wanted to get the ball back and going, willing to go over 100, which you need from your ace. It felt like a must win. It's crazy to say, within the first 10 games of the season, but you need your ace to have that sense of urgency like he did and know that I need to hold this together. And when I come on the mound, this needs to be a win. It needs to stop the bleeding, whatever we're doing. And it's great to have on the second game because now you're going into game three with a chance to win the series. You're not already down 0-2. You already lost the series going into game three. Gives you some optimism because if you can win a series, that gives you some life. Not winning one out of three doesn't really do much for you, but you win a series, you get some life, and off the back of your ace, which is what what you need. And he really led the team tonight. It was awesome.
I mean, they call them stoppers for a reason, and he only gave up two hits. Both were singles, so not an extra base hit from any of the Brewers. Two walks, couple wild pitches. I'd still call it a stellar start. I mean, he pitched into the seventh. He's pitched into the seventh inning, and his best start of the season, nonetheless. Red Sox, two of our three wins have come on Garrett Crochet starts now. Jason said improved to a 3-8 record, and it's weird, improved and that record being mentioned in the same sentence, but it was true. It was a fact. And so, it was good to see. It's kind of what you needed. And the beauty about Garrett Crochet is he doesn't give your bad defense a lot of opportunities to be bad, because he's striking them out. He's getting a lot of easy, low stress outs. It did get a little stressful late, in that final inning. Issued one or two walks, and then David Hamilton came up with the bases loaded. And the interesting thing there was Terang would have come up had Cora taken him out, but Cora was kind of content to just let it ride with Hamilton, who's really not not a lot to be afraid of. I was wondering if he might try to square up a bunt and just kind of catch Crochet off guard, or whoever fielded it. I'm guessing it would have went to Contreras down the right field line, but Hamilton didn't really get a chance at it because he was hit by a pitch. And I thought, okay, here we go. This is where it goes sideways. Now they're on the board. There were 2 outs at the time, bases loaded, but just a soft single ties the game. And Zach Kelly came in and kind of stopped the bleeding. And we're all trying to get comfortable again with Zach Kelly, but he got the Red Sox out of the jam, and it was just a great night from a pitching perspective altogether.
Yeah, I think what you pointed out is that Cora managed this game to win. Like he treated it like a must win. Um, and you could tell because he doesn't want to leave Crochet in that late, especially in April, right? If this was in July or August, he feels more comfortable letting Crochet go over 100 pitches, even with, traffic on the bases. In April, Cora doesn't want to be doing that, but you made a good point. If he brings in Zach Kelly to face David Hamilton, here comes Bryce Terang, one of the best left-handed hitters in the game, and you might be getting a much different result. Obviously, you didn't want Crochet to hit David Hamilton and put him on, but it's better than Pat Murphy going to his bench where he had a couple of good lefties sitting there. Not just Terrain, but Garrett Mitchell was on the bench for them tonight. So you don't want to bring in Zach Kelly and have him have to face those guys. So I thought Cora was definitely managing like it was a must win because he wanted to avoid the middle part of his bullpen as much as possible. Because quite frankly, I think Cora knows what we've all seen, which is that the middle part of their bullpen is not good, and it's really just a mix of average to below average guys. Maybe a night like this, you get a good outing of Zach Kelly, and you thank the heavens that that happened because sometimes Zach Kelly can come in and be an arsonist and just give the game away. So I think that combined with the fact that he went to Garrett Whitlock on a second night in a row, especially after Whitlock threw a lot of pitches last night, I was very surprised to see that. And again, I think that's just Cora saying we needed this one. Like, we're not going to waste this start from Garrett Crochet. We had our ace go out there and perform like a stopper, like you said. And you got some clutch offense when you needed it. Otherwise, pretty quiet night for the lineup again. But you know what? Against Mizorowski, if you can get him to walk the bases loaded and you cash in on that, fine. I'll take it because especially this lineup that's a little bit swing happy, for them to get the patience to see that okay, he's starting to lose control, he's starting to lose command of everything. Let's just let him pitch and let him walk us, and then we'll get to their bullpen. So pretty good job from the lineup there too. But yeah, Crochet he was excellent tonight, and you mentioned that he doesn't give the defense really chances to give it away, which in general is true. Big swing and miss guy. Defense still tried to give it away a couple of times. There was the botched double play between Story and Meyer, which was so embarrassing. Again, just those two have got to swap positions. It's just, it's time. Caleb Durbin, you made a nice snag on a line drive from Yelich, but then he could have had a double play, but he kind of tripped over his own cleats. I don't know what happened there. If it just the momentum of the hit just kind of took him off balance a little bit, but so your defense still had some moments that were a little bit shaky, but luckily Crochet was just so nails that he's able to work around it. And I like Cora's aggressive decision making with the bullpen and with everything else tonight. I think that he was really, this is his best game of the season so far as the manager. So that helped a lot too.
If you're trying to be a Zach Kelly optimist again, and he got off to a good start, he got hurt and was lost for a season. Then he came back, had a decent season, and then he was just terrible. He couldn't even stay with the big club. I forget why I can't remember why he missed most of last summer, if he was just optioned down or if he was hurt or whatever, but he pitched his last game on June 29th and then wasn't called back up again until September 3rd. From September 3rd until the end of the season last year, he was scoreless in 8 out of 11 games. And it might have actually been 9 out of 11. And he didn't get shelled at any point. He gave up 2 runs in one of those games. So strong enough finish to the end of the season, for a guy that we didn't really have the bar set too high for. Now tonight was only his second appearance, and he did give up a run in his previous outing. 1 hit, 1 run, no balls, and it wasn't a homer. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I think we'd rather see Zach Kelly right now than Greg Weissert. Perhaps there's another name we won't like as much. I'm a little surprised that Cora didn't go to Slayton. Slayton's looked okay in a couple starts, so I don't know. But if you're trying to be an optimist about the middle of this bullpen, maybe Kelly and maybe Slayton can kind of hold those innings down and give you a little bit of security before you get to Whitlock in the 8th. And like you said, Jason, he was attacking the zone tonight. He was throwing strikes. He was not throwing strikes last night. Looked like he was in command. It was a very low stress inning. And that's what you want to see, especially just one night after a bad outing. Watch him lock back in and be one of the best 8th inning guys in all of baseball.
Yeah, he looked great. And, like you said, and I think, everyone would be with you that, Kelly over Weissert. And, I wanted to see Slayton up and, Kelly up. It's not like here we go when you see him up. It's like it's kind of a coin toss. Like, he might come out, there is some optimism. Like you said, you can have some with him. Like the team's weakest point, weakest position is middle relief, obviously. And we've just been going to it way too much, right? That's been one of our biggest problems is we've been getting to the middle relief way too much. And Cora, like you said, Jason, his best game, he was like, no middle relief tonight. Crochet's going over 100, and we're just getting into our guys later, and we're going to win this game. And you need your ace to, pitch like an ace to be able to do it, and he did.
Real quick, forgot where I was going to go. Oh, yeah. Last night in the 4th inning, the Red Sox took the lead 5-4. And even when it happened, I'm like, we've got no shot at this game. Even being up a run right now, we've got no shot because you knew Bayo probably wasn't going to he wasn't going to probably pitch more than one more inning based on where his pitch count was. And as it turned out, he didn't even finish that next inning. And, what's the middle of this pen going to do for the remainder of the game? And Pat Murphy, set up, it was almost an all lefty lineup because Bayo struggles against lefties. And Giovanni Moran, as we covered last night, was the hero, gave you 3 innings of, basically scoreless baseball. And so hopefully Kelly and Slayton can kind of shore that up a little bit. Now, tomorrow, we'll get into Sonny Gray more later, but I doubt Whitlock's going to be available for a 3rd game in a row. But you never know. I mean, if Cora's ass is on the line, I guess we shouldn't make any assumptions at all right now. But yeah, it's pretty good. And I think kind of where the game was won tonight, Pat Murphy lost the race to get his bullpen ready. And the Miz, I love that nickname. I wasn't even a wrestling fan at that time, but I know what it means. You guys are the pros for that era. But he had 2 runners on, no outs, and only then was DL Hall getting ready in the bullpen. And just like with Garrett Crochet, Mizrowski was just out of gas. And the Red Sox, he walked a couple. I forget how many hits in that inning. The Red Sox only had 3 hits, as Doug pointed out before we came on the show. So, Cora had his pen ready. I mean, he was a little more methodical because do we want Terang to come up to the plate, or would we rather chance it with Hamilton? In Murphy's case, he just didn't. The game sped up too fast, and he's probably one of the best managers in baseball. And that's probably how they lost that game. The Red Sox didn't win tonight because the offense finally showed up. They won it based on circumstances and a heroic performance by the pitching staff. That's what won the game tonight. And that's not going to win you a ton of games, especially when Garrett Crochet is probably the only guy capable of, pitching that high level of a game.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Pat Murphy because I was thinking that too. I'm thinking Cora, you gotta give him credit. You gotta give him his flowers for this one. He outmanaged Pat Murphy because he was ready to make that change, go to his bullpen before Murphy was, and especially with a young guy like Mizorowski, like to let him get up to that high of a pitch count, the control was clearly out the window that inning. Like he couldn't locate anything. He couldn't hit the side of a battleship that inning. So, and I think it was just Pat Murphy kind of not taking the Red Sox very seriously. I think that he was on the other side going, well, yeah, okay, Mizorowski kind of missing his locations, but one of these idiots is going to swing at something outside the zone, or one of these idiots is going to swing at something and pop it up or hit into a double play. And the Red Sox didn't cave in. To their credit, they took pitches, they were patient, they just kind of stood up there and said, yeah, I dare you to throw me a strike because I don't think you can. And Mizorowski couldn't do it. And then by that point, you load the bases and the game kind of got away from Milwaukee a little bit there. And luckily, Trevor Story came through in the clutch. And I was actually surprised to see his numbers with the bases loaded. He's like a 346 hitter with the bases loaded, which I would not have guessed. And I'm sure a lot of that was back in his prime Colorado days. But I was shocked to see how good of a hitter he is with the bases loaded. And, again, only 3 hits, but he had the biggest one, that double, down the line. So that really broke the game open. But yeah, I was kind of surprised that Pat Murphy I don't think he fell asleep at the wheel. I think it was more just, again, he really underestimated the Red Sox lineup in terms of, they can be patient at times. Typically they swing too much, but they had the right approach tonight, and he just left Mizorowski in way too long.
Yeah, he was blowing smoke at the beginning of the game too. Came out those first 5 guys he struck out. He was hitting 102.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's something that Milwaukee's going to have to work with him on, because Merloni kind of brought it up too on the broadcast. Said, this kid always starts out like right out of the gate throwing 101, 102, but then eventually it gets down to like 98, 99. Then it gets down to 97, and that's where he's vulnerable. So I wonder if they got to and he's a young kid. I mean, he's 22 or something. Yeah. So yeah, I wonder if they just got to teach him save the 101 for the 5th inning, not the first batter of the game, because you're firing all your best bullets, and then by the 4th inning you're completely smoked. So, and that's the difference, right? Mizorowski is their 22-year-old ace. You have a 26-year-old ace who has been doing it for a lot longer in Garrett Crochet, and he knows I got to save my best stuff for later, which for the most part he does. Tonight it did fall apart on him, but that's the difference, right? That's the difference in aces, and that's why Cora trusted him to face David Hamilton in that spot. I don't think he wanted him to hit him. I don't think Crochet wanted to either. But hey, the result is what it is. In terms of the lineup, I mean, again, not much to speak on there on the offense. Only 3 hits. Mizorowski was mowing them down in the first couple of innings. It wasn't until later when his control was gone that they were finally able to take advantage of him. But yeah, again, it's just you're waiting for the lineup to really click and to have one of those games where it's all kind of working in sync. And even tonight, it didn't. They had one good inning where they got lucky in a lot of ways. And, that's how they won. And obviously their pitching staff on the other side, kept the Brewers off the board. But, Anthony still looks like he's struggling at the top of the lineup. Duran is swinging at everything and swinging out of his shoes. I don't know. I just feel like we're still at a point where the lineup is not settled, and there's still something Cora needs to do to figure out how to get the most out of them.
Let's talk about Caleb Durbin real quick. The nice thing I can say, and unfortunately it's going to be the only nice thing, is he's only struck out 6 times this year. In the last 4 games, which includes tonight, he hasn't struck out at all. So that's nice.
That's not terrible. I mean, it's not. Yeah, I mean, it's not. It's not terrible.
But
Considering everyone else is striking out like crazy.
Getting to terrible.
Yeah.
He's only hitting, let's see, I think he's hitting 121 on the season. He did have an RBI tonight. He basically grounded into, I don't know if you want to call it a fielder's choice, but it was fielded by the second baseman. The third baseman, the third base runner was running on contact, scored the run. I think that was their third run.
Yeah.
After the Story double there. But so not good. And it's funny because he hit 354 in spring training. So, that's nice. And we know not to take that too seriously, but there were no red flags in spring training is what I'm getting to. And and this is according to Baseball Reference. So again, how much stock do you want to put into it? But he's projected to hit 258 with a 333 on base, 403 slugging, which is kind of starting to sound like a stretch. And let's see, 735 OPS. So I don't like what I'm seeing. And when he's booting the ball like he did last night and then can't walk on his own 2 feet tonight and really created what could have been a much higher stress inning, because he should have ended it right there to start the double play, and it didn't happen. And I think we got out of it in the next batter as well. But if he's going to be a landmine out there, that's just he's only literally killing you, by not producing at the plate and butchering it defensively.
At first I thought he made like a nice play on that ball. I was like, oh, I was sitting with my brother. I'm like, oh, Durbin made a nice play on that. Watch this replay. And it just shows him make the play and then fall over. And I was like,
exactly.
Oh my God, what a bum.
There was that play too earlier by IKF at third, and I forget who said on Twitter, someone was like, if that's Durbin, it's by him, because he's just not tall enough to have the reach to get there. I mean, IKF's not much taller, but he's got a good 4 or 5 inches, I think, on Caleb Durbin. So yeah, I mean, I want to believe that he's going to turn it around and become that guy that you mentioned the Baseball Reference, the projections. Like, I would take that from a guy who's sitting in the bottom half of your order. I'll take it, right? Because at this point, right now, all I see is a guy who can't really hit, who is supposed to have really good sprint speed, but I don't see him beating out any ground balls anytime soon. He hasn't tried to steal a base yet. Or no, he did, and then he got caught.
Yeah.
Yeah, so actually he did try and steal a base. That didn't work. He got caught by a mile. Doesn't look sharp defensively. I think he's got a decent arm over there at third base, but that's really it. He doesn't have good range. And when you're playing the corners, you kind of need someone a little bit tall. Like, I don't want to, go down the route of, height and sizes or whatever. I'm not a tall guy. I'm 5'7" too, but I've never tried to play third base. It's like, I just feel like you need guys with length and range over there, and he just doesn't have it. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure about Caleb Durbin's long-term future. I still think Marcelo Meyer should be on that side of the field, whether it be at shortstop or third base, ideally. But I think you're stuck with Durbin until it just gets untenable, because they made the trade. They have to live with it. So they got to play the guy, unfortunately. So you're pretty much stuck with that.
Doug, how tall are you? You're tall, right?
Yeah, I'm like 6'1".
6'1", yeah. Jeremy's 6'5", so towers over all of us. But yeah, we were all a really short crew. I think 5'10" was the highest, and we were all shorter. I'm 5'9". Job was 5'9". Jason 5'7". Charlie 5'6". I said we're all a bunch of. I tweeted out with everyone's permission, we're all a bunch of midget MFers, And mouthy dudes are usually short, and so it fit the brand. But we've gotten taller over the years. But yeah, here's one that popped up in the stream. Now, Get Real. I don't know how you say it. Get Real. Oh, Get Real. That's what it means. All right, there we go. piecing it together on the fly. He says, should we be concerned about Anthony in left? Well, tonight he was a DH, which seemed to fit the emergency lineup. Like Alex Cora put that lineup together like his ass was on the line.
Yeah.
Duran was in left. Anthony was DHing. What else was notable about it? Rafaela Abreu. Oh, IKF was he started the game, I think, at third, didn't he?
Yeah.
So
they moved Abreu up to fourth in the lineup.
And moved Abreu up to fourth. Yeah. So this was like this was the non-Little League lineup. This is like my ass is on the line. And you can possibly tweak it in a minor way, in a couple different ways. But I mean, I think a lot of people saw this lineup and were very content. So I guess, is Duran just going to stay in left for the time being?
I'd hope so. I mean, I don't think Roman is necessarily like a terrible glove, but we just all seen that he can't throw the ball. And like really can't throw the ball. Like really, really can't throw the ball, which is concerning. I mean, I don't understand how someone can be that bad throwing the ball in left field, but it's also kind of, I feel like, has anyone ever just come up at 20 and just been a DH their whole career? Like, I can't even, I can't think of anyone that's just been like that, so that's a little concerning. But I don't think he's a terrible fielder per se, but I obviously he can't throw the ball.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be a career terrible fielder. Like, I don't see that in his future, right? He's too athletic. I mean, he's not a bad athlete. So right there, you say, okay, it's got to be something mechanical, right? It's got to be something he's doing either pregame, or maybe it's just because he's in left. Again, Fenway left field is not difficult, but it's very different than other ballparks because of the Green Monster, because you're playing so shallow in left field. We've heard that from other left fielders.
It takes time to learn.
We've heard it from everyone from Manny on down, who have said, look, it is different because you feel like you're like right behind the shortstop. Essentially, it's a little bit uncomfortable to get used to. And again, he's 21, and I think most of the time last year he was in right field, so he's not used to the monster right behind him, the infield a lot closer to him. So when he's charging a ball to throw to home plate, in his head, he probably thinks he's got to, really wind up, or he's got to really chuck it as if he were in right field, but he doesn't, right? It just takes more of an accurate pinpoint throw rather than I've got to throw a howitzer to the plate to get it there. Maybe it's just that. It might just be a mental thing, might just be the yips. The scary thing about the yips is sometimes they never go away. Hopefully it's not like a Chuck Knobloch situation, but I don't think it is. I think he's just young. He's still figuring out how to play Fenway left. And again, it's part of the difficulty with this outfield logjam is one day he's in left field, the other day he's DHing. And then, who knows where he'll be tomorrow? He might be out of the lineup tomorrow, and then he'll have Thursday off, and then he's in a whole new ballpark on Friday. That's a little tricky for a guy who's still, at this point, still kind of getting his feet wet at the MLB level. For him to be, kind of changing positions that much, it does make it tricky on him. So I'm not concerned long term, but I do think, like, unless Yoshida's in the lineup, I want Anthony DHing a little bit more, and I want him playing left field at Fenway just to get him used to that. In other ballparks, if you want to DH him and put him in right or whatever, that's fine, because I think most other ballparks are a little more symmetrical than Fenway. But at home, I think you got to get him used to playing left field. You just don't put him back in right, because he's already done that. He's already proven he can play in right. Just keep him in left and let him get used to that, because they had to do it with Duran too. Jarren Duran, when he first started out in left field, he struggled out there too. It's tricky. So I think he'll be fine, but I think they've got to coach him up the right way. They've got to really do some drilling with him out in left field, hit some balls off the wall, let him figure out how to play it. let him figure out where the depth of everything is, warning track, all that. Once they do that, he's a good enough athlete. He'll get used to it.
I pointed out last night. I mean, he played 70 games last year in right field, or most of those 70 games. So if it was strictly the arm, I think we would have probably known that by now before coming into camp. But I guess the question here is, can we afford to let him figure it out on the fly? Or does he just have to stay at DH until we can calm down, hopefully get other parts of the team in order, shore up the defense a little bit, and and then maybe ease him back in? Another thing I wonder is, you have a surplus of outfielders, and you're not going to be able to do this year, but does Roman Anthony essentially become a first baseman? I mean, Tristan Casas, is not that we've got a lot of faith there, but he had a bad development today where he wasn't comfortable swinging. So this is going to be a prolonged thing. Like, Casas will probably miss, I would say, conservatively half the season. Trying to work through the second injury to his ribs of his career, the second in 3 years, and Contreras is not a long-term guy. I think we have him under control for one more year beyond this, if that year happens. And then maybe Anthony just becomes your, I don't want to say Paul Goldschmidt type guy, because he's a Gold Glover, but he could be a Matt Olson type guy at first base, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate that idea. And I think you're right that he should stay at DH for now and just work, and just be that spot starter in the outfield when someone needs a day off, but just work. If it's like you like they said with like, if it's what Cora said and it's a mechanical thing, then that just needs to be worked out. And if he just puts in the work and just stays at DH for now, I think you have to. I think Durant has to be in the field, and I think your best lineup that you have right now is Roman at DH, and just hopefully he can work that arm out and work those mechanics out if that is the problem. And having mechanical issues throwing a ball when you're a big leaguer is a little concerning, but if that's what it is, that's what it is. And I think he is a good enough athlete, like you said a lot, and I think he'll figure it out, but keep him at DH for now till he can.
Ryan comments again, can't he play DH now while training with Hudson on the side? That's what I would do, says Ryan in the stream.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, yes, you can do it, but how crazy is it that we live in a world where we're safer with Yoshida in the outfield than we are Anthony?
It's also a pretty bad sign that this is your second prospect now that we're already talking about having to change his position. I mean, they went through this with Christian Campbell, right? Christian Campbell was an infielder. Now he's an outfielder. They tried to make him a first baseman for a little bit. And eventually they're just like, we don't know where to stick you, so just go in the outfield somewhere. And at least from spring training, he looks like he can't play the outfield either. So I don't know what's, again, it goes back to development and training and fundamentals, right? Like, why are these guys coming up not being able to play their positions? The only prospect that looks good where he's playing is Marcelo Meyer. And maybe that's just because he's so good naturally defensively that he can look that good at second base, third base, and shortstop. But yeah, these other guys, I mean, Roman, I mentioned it last night. He had that play in right field last year where it's just a regular line drive in the outfield, ball goes right under his glove. He didn't know how to properly scoop up the ball. Fast forward to this year, now he can't throw. So it's just like, what are you guys doing? Are you doing any training or fundamentals on the side? Or are you just kind of hoping these guys figure it out on their own? Like, that's what I wonder. So, yeah, I agree with the comment that he can DH and then work with the coaches on the side to, improve his defense, fix his arm, whatever. I just wonder how much are they really prioritizing that? Because I think this organization has gotten far, far away from fundamentals and side training like that. So that's the only part that concerns me is, yeah, you can definitely do that. I'm just not sure it's going to get much better. I hope it does, because again, I just hope he's a good enough athlete, he'll figure it out. But I'm not sure I trust the Red Sox coaching staff to miraculously fix something if it's broken.
Another thing here, you mentioned IKF. He had another situation tonight where he hit a ball in play, assumed it was going to be foul, didn't start running, was out by a
Yeah,
mile.
what the hell was that? That was
he
crazy. And it was
he
fair
just
by a mile. Like, it
true,
wasn't even close to being foul. They
and
showed
he
the
just
replay. I was like, what the heck?
and I mean he signed a $6 million deal for 1 year, which I think was unnecessary. I mean, it was the response to Romy going down, um, but there were other options. I mean, Durbin is versatile. Um, Meyer shouldn't be platooning anyway, but he is. But either one of those guys can play second base. Nate Eaton could come up and play third for you. It was just a stupid waste of money. That one contract has us over the second luxury tax threshold, and and I think Cora kind of knows. I mean, he tonight, even after tonight, we've played how many games? We're 3-8, so this was 11 games. IKF only has 7 plate appearances on the season, if you include the 3 at bats tonight. So it was a stupid deal. It log jams the infield even more. He's been a net negative. So I don't know. I don't know what happens, but before we get to the matchups and stuff, last night was tumultuous and tonight wasn't spectacular, but we did get a W. But I didn't realize when we went on the air last night with that viral John Henry clip where he's trying to figure out what the fans were chanting, sell the team, sell the team. And the camera catches John Henry mouthing the words, oh, sell the team. And he kind of shrugged it off. But I'm kind of surprised he was at the game last night. He doesn't go to all the games anymore. I don't think he travels at all unless, it's a Devers situation in Kansas City. But so it was just interesting. And Alex Cora was asked last night, he goes, well, what's your response to that? And he goes, well, they've earned the right to say whatever they want. That's why we love Boston. They're essentially passionate. This isn't word for word, but that's essentially what he was saying. And I read that quote and I'm like, ooh, I don't know if John Henry, if he would love that response. And then you get the lineup today that you should have got. You got a serious lineup today. I mean, it's still not ideal, but working with the best of what he has, you could try to get Yoshida in there. That was like the chief complaint, other than flip-flopping Meyer and Story, obviously. But I mean, there is no perfect lineup, but this was a serious lineup. So, like, is his ass on the line? I mean, if he has a bad April, is he still here in May?
Probably not. I mean, it's really hard to think, that he would, because, with his history here, I mean, he could have been out of baseball and they just put him away for a year, brought him back. They obviously like him. But I don't know. This might be the year that if the wheels are falling off that early, a change will probably have to be made.
Yeah, I think in years past I would have said no. Cora's a made man. They'll keep extending him. They're going to protect him. They really like him. I think his act is starting to run a little dry with the front office. I think that he's clearly has no he has no problem calling out the roster management and having to do what he has to do with the lineup and now this the fans are basically taking massive digs at John Henry, sell the team chance, all this, and Cora saying, yeah, they should be saying that. Like, I mean, that's just blatant, that is blatantly just kind of calling out your boss, being like, yeah, well, they should be telling you to sell the team because you suck as an owner. Like, that's, he didn't say those words. It's maybe not that bad, but yeah, I think Cora, he's not in like open revolt. It's not that bad because Cora wants to win. So that's the only good part is that like he wants to win. He's going to do everything he can to win. But I also don't think he cares if he gets fired at this point. I think he's kind of just he looks at Breslow and what the organization's doing, the Devers trade, the botch of the Bregman contract, all of that. And he just looks at him and he goes, you guys have lost your way. It's like this isn't a big market team anymore. You guys you spend money, but you spend it in all the wrong places. Jettison superstars out of here left and right. The only good thing that you guys have going for you is you've got guys like Roman Anthony and Marcelo Meyer. But I don't even think Cora's a big fan of Marcelo Meyer because he keeps pinch hitting him and taking him out of the lineup any chance he gets. So I think Cora's just kind of fed up with the way they're operating right now as a team. And I think he's sort of going, yeah, I'm gonna do everything I can to win and put the best lineup out there. But honestly, if you want to fire me at the end of April because we're 10 games under 500 and you know Wilson Contreras still isn't hitting and the middle of our bullpen is trashed because he didn't sign any relievers and Ranger Suarez has an ERA over 10, then fine, fire me. I know it's not my fault. I'll get a job somewhere else in baseball. I'll be fine. You guys are screwed. So I think it's not open revolt, but I think Cora's just like, I don't care. I'm going to do everything I can to win, but if you want to fire me, go ahead. Because I think he's kind of fed up too.
That's an excellent point because you look at Cora, and I mean, in some ways, yeah, he's gotten the most of what he has, and he does have a championship under his belt. And yeah, his future is okay. And then when you look at Breslow, is he ever going to get an opportunity again? And probably not. I don't think as a chief baseball officer, will somebody want him to be an analyst for their pitching program. I think he would almost certainly get hired by some organization. But yeah, so I guess he's got the least to worry about long term, but I want to see urgency from the rest of for the rest of the year. I want to see urgency. And this lineup is not deep enough to take anything for granted. Let's just say we go on this disgusting run. Let's say Sonny Gray, spoiler alert, I don't think he's going to pitch well tomorrow because this is a very patient Brewers lineup and they're not going to be swinging at stuff out of the zone. I don't think. So if I'm right, but no, excuse me. So let's just say I'm wrong. Let's just say Cushman, he's going to win tomorrow because he's going to be stellar like he was in his last start. And then we go into St. Louis, we take 2 out of 3. Then we go into Minnesota, we take at least 2 out of 3, maybe sweep them. Now I'm not doing the math, but we're back around 500. Let's say we get 8 games above 500 and we can finally breathe. I don't want that little league style of management to come back. I want the best guys out there. And I don't trust that he'll do it, but I don't want to question I'm so tired of posting the lineup in the war room and then having us like rip it apart. I'm so sick of that.
Yeah, maybe Cora, we'll just say, like you're saying, if he feels that and he's just saying, screw it, I'm just going to put out the lineup that I think's best. And like he did today, and hopefully he keeps doing that, and maybe that can really turn, maybe that can turn things around. Just being actually, because the word, Terry, you're right, is urgency. That's the word that I think is the biggest word right now for the Red Sox and how they need to go about things.
He needs to watch Matthew McConaughey's speech from We Are Marshall before they play that last game. Winning is everything.
Yeah.
Okay, don't put a trash lineup out there because you feel bad for whoever's going to be hitting in the 8th hole, whichever bench guy you roll with. Winning is everything. And, we play 162 games, but all of them matter. Every single game matters. And, when I said a few shows ago, if we did enter the next season with a new chief baseball officer and a new manager, it's just going to be so fascinating to see the different philosophy in play. Now, I mean, maybe it'll be one of those front offices where it's just hardcore analytic driven and it is what it is. But I'd hate to see that. But I mean, the Francona era was so magical, and the early part of the Farrell era was as well. But I'm just so tired of this brand of baseball. I'm tired of the arrogance of Craig Breslow, and even Alex Cora I think can be a little arrogant. He likes to mix and match. He thinks he's smarter than the other managers, and he really hasn't been. He's lucky that Pat Murphy kind of fell asleep at the wheel tonight, and because it could have been a much different outcome.
Yeah, 100%. And again, that urgency that has to be there, right? And looking at tomorrow, that's the perfect chance to do it because you've got an off day Thursday. It's an afternoon game. You're traveling, so you don't play again until Friday night, and you're going up. Your next two, opponents are the Cardinals and Twins. Again, two teams. I said this last night. Two teams that you should be better than. You should not be losing these next two series to St. Louis and Minnesota. Minnesota is rebuilding. They fired all their people this offseason, so they're trying to figure out what direction they want to go in. St. Louis is rebuilding. This is the beginning of the Chaim Bloom era over there. So, they had a major talent drain over the winter as well. So, yeah, this game tomorrow, you want to take this series from Milwaukee and get on that plane feeling good, going to face two teams that you should be able to beat. So I hope to see a good lineup tomorrow. In terms of the pitching matchup, as Terry mentioned, we've got Sonny Gray going for the Red Sox, and for the Milwaukee Brewers, it is now confirmed our old friend Shane Drohan is going to be starting for the Milwaukee Brewers. They just called him up a couple of days ago, so not much on him in terms of how he's pitched this year. His spring, he only made a couple of appearances, ERA in the fours. He pitched a couple innings in their AAA system. Doesn't look super impressive. He's a guy that had a good run with the Red Sox organization for a little bit, and then I think he got hurt, and then it just kind of fell apart from there, and they kind of got rid of him. So he is a lefty, so I'm curious to see what Cora is going to do there. Who sits, who doesn't. But Doug, I'll start with you. How do you feel about the game tomorrow?
I'm feeling optimistic about the game tomorrow. I think Sonny looked really good on Friday. And the sun, kind of screwed him out of those couple runs that Sedan, dropped that fly ball. And, he's, one game looked bad, one game looked good. A young kid, kid on coming off a call up. I like our chances tomorrow, actually. I'm going to pick us to win tomorrow, win the series. It's just we have to win our first series. And hopefully Sonny's a veteran enough to know that and really feel that urgency we're talking about and have another stellar outing.
Well, I guess that's kind of a plot twist. I thought they were pitching one of their younger guys who was off to a good start. So I was just trying to figure it out real fast. Was there an injury? Are they just reshuffling their rotation? Maybe because Drohan's a lefty, maybe that's just part of the Pat Murphy magic. So I don't know. I mean, we should have a pretty good scouting report on him, unless the Brewers were able to really overhaul him over the winter. But they've done it with Quinn Priester. They've done it with Kyle Harrison. Who knows? So I think it could potentially be a high scoring game. So, which offense do you like better? I don't really even know. What kind of a lineup is Cora going to trot out? Is it going to be, well, if it's against a lefty, I guess it's pretty obvious that Duran probably won't be in it. I'd be pleasantly surprised if he was, but Yoshida won't be in it. Yeah, and then so what do you do? Yeah, maybe Duran will be in it. If Anthony has to DH, I mean, who do you want in left field? Duran or Yoshida?
Duran for sure.
Durant.
Yeah.
Probably Duran. So it'll be interesting to see what that is, and it's a 135 game. So we'll see what happens. And then looking ahead, the St. Louis matchup, we got Dustin May, who just looks like ass. And then you got some guy named Kyle Leahy, who's got a 5.40 ERA across 2 starts, only 5 strikeouts across those 2 starts. So that that's looking like a very favorable matchup in St. Louis on the road. But we'll see. We're going to have the weaker part of our lineup, though. I think Garrett Crochet will miss that entire series. We do have an off day on Thursday, so I guess conceivably you could start him on Sunday. That would be 5 days. So I don't think they would do that, but we'll see. It's going to be their weakest pitchers against ours. And I looked up Nolan Arenado last night, and where did he go? Back to the Diamondbacks?
Arizona.
Yeah. He's got an OPS plus of 23 right now. 100 is league average if you're not a stats person, and I wouldn't say I'm even a stats person, but 100 is average. He's at 23. So there's been no magic. And I'll be fair, I mean, this is to show you how accountable I am. I was screaming from the mountaintops 2 winters ago, go get Arenado, get him for as cheap as you can, make St. Louis eat as much money as you can, and he would be the Mike Lowell of that staff. Ouch. That's like that'd be my biggest L in a long time. And I had a couple people, I don't remember who, but like I wasn't the only one who wanted him, but I was leading the charge though. But yeah, so thank goodness that never happened. But yeah. But officially, you know what? I don't like Sonny Gray. So I'm still gonna give it to the Brewers tomorrow. So the good news will be if we lose, that means I'm right, and if we lose, then that means if we win, rather, that means I'm wrong. So it's win-win for me.
Yeah, exactly. I think I like the Red Sox chances tomorrow just because I don't think Shane Drohan is anything special. Just looking at his numbers across multiple systems now, it's like he's never really put it together. I know the Brewers, they can work their magic with some guys, but I honestly think they just called him up to be kind of a stopgap while they reshuffle things or whatever it is they're doing. So I think the Red Sox should be able to score some runs off of him. I think Sonny Gray will do okay. Not expecting him to pitch stellar, but I think he'll be good enough that if the Red Sox give him a little bit of a cushion, then they should be okay. So hoping for a win tomorrow, but we'll see.
Not that it matters. Well, it doesn't matter, but he did have a 4.26 ERA in spring training. And if you're looking for one eye-popping stat, if you want to call it that, in 12 and 2/3 innings pitched in spring training, he had 15 strikeouts. So I don't know if those were against the big league guys. I mean, if it was early in camp, it could have been against some of the minor leaguers. But I bet the Brewers have tweaked something. He's going to bring something that the Red Sox aren't necessarily expecting tomorrow. So we'll see.
Yeah, no, most likely. That is what the Brewers tend to do. So we'll see what happens. Again, that game's at 1:30 tomorrow. We'll be on the air right after the game whenever it ends. So a bit of an earlier show for you guys tomorrow, but hopefully you can still join us, and hopefully you're joining us for a series win, which that'd be nice to have for once this season. So anyway, we will see you guys tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your night. Until then, take care. Go Red Sox.